Hi, this is Sue Jackson of the Book by Book blog, and I'm here today with another Friday Reads. But first, do you notice anything different? Yes, we finally got a start on cleaning up our bookcases, rearranging all of our books. This past weekend we worked on it. I recorded a little wrap up of what we did and tour of some of our bookcases for my chronic illness vlog, so I'll share that with you here too. We finally dug into clearing out our bookshelves and making some progress. So this is the bookcase of books we inherited from my dad, mostly Stephen King and Dean Koontz. We also pulled in our own Stephen Kings that we owned, although I think there's still a few more to gather up, and got some of the extra stuff that had been piled in a second row on the bottom shelf off. This is our to-be-read bookcase, except for that bottom row. And as you can see, it still has a couple of little spots of double rows. But before this, the entire two middle shelves had double rows. And so we did clear a lot off. The stacks on the right side, the horizontal stack and then the vertical stack, those are my books for Big Book Summer, the reading challenge I host every summer, and my husband's books for Big Book Summer. So just getting prepared there, and hopefully those will be read soon. And then this bookcase was out in our hallway with books stacked up another yard high, meter high above the shelf. So we cleared a lot out of there. Still have to decide what to do with some books, and I'll show you downstairs. Okay, so this is where a lot of the action took place, a lot of the sorting, as you can see. Oh, and by the way, since I wasn't feeling well, I mostly sat and helped make decisions while my husband did the heavy lifting. So those are giveaway books. Got a big box there of giveaway books, big box there. These are keepers, but we don't know what to do with them yet. We definitely need another bookcase. That's a stack of golf books that are my husband's. And there's the finished bookcase. It used to have, well, when we moved in 29 years ago, we put books on this shelf and we hadn't moved any of them since. So it was long overdue. This is our favorites shelf. These are all favorite books that we really have enjoyed over the years. The bottom shelf is old yearbooks and photo albums. So it felt really good to make a dent in it. There's still more to do. We've got more bookcases in the guest room, in the office. Yeah, but we're making progress, which feels really good. Yes, so this is where I always record, but it is now our favorites bookcase with lots of our favorite books, the keepers that we really want to hang on to. Many are hardcovers, though in some cases we don't have all hardcovers in a series or by a certain author, so there's a mix here. And you saw in the little clip I just showed you the full bookcase. So yeah, happy to finally have rearranged some things. I'm still looking at stacks of books over on the love seat that I showed in that video clip. So we've still got more work to do. We definitely need more boxes and more bookcases. And one more thing before I jump into my reading update that I keep forgetting to tell you. I finally, a few weeks ago, maybe a month ago now, finally joined Instagram. I know people have been telling me to do it for years. People in the book world, people in the writing world, everybody's been saying you have to be on Instagram. So I am now. And I've only found a couple of my booktube friends there. So please find me on Instagram. I am at Suzan, SUZAN, Jackson. So it's just my name, but yeah, my name's spelled with a Z, and I had to put my middle initial in there. So Susan L. Jackson. And please find me so that I can find you. Okay, now to the books. I did finish My Beloved Life by Amitava Kumar this week. I've talked about this in previous Friday reads and on my Booktopia summary, so I'm not going to go into a lot of detail. I just need to correct something that I've said probably a half a dozen times here on my channel that was wrong. I said that this book was about this man's life, begins in India in 1935, and that there are different sections from his perspective, from his daughter's perspective, and from his grandchild's perspective. I was wrong about that last part. Part 4 is from a different perspective, but it's not his grandchild. And I don't want to give any spoilers. In fact, I really wish I had finished this before Booktopia, because I really want to ask the author about that last section and about the perspective here it's written from. But anyway, excellent book, just outstanding. It's about a man's life and his hopes and dreams and those of his daughter, but it is also about a time and place. It's set mostly in India. His daughter moves to Atlanta in the US, so some of it is set there. And because he was born in 1935 in India, he lived through and he died during the pandemic. So he lived through a lot of history. So that's a part of this as well. So you could consider it historical fiction as well, but with a focus on these characters and particularly this one man's life. I've got lots of pages tabbed with quotes that I loved. There's the author. I did get to listen to him speak at Booktopia a little bit, but I wish I had finished the book before. And so that's it for my Booktopia reading right now. I still have some more short stories in 50 Beasts to Break Your Heart by Jenna Rose Nethercott. I do plan to read more of those stories. Possibly might save those for September and October when I'm doing the RIP challenge, because some of them are a bit creepy. And I do have the Chris Bojalian book, The Princess of Las Vegas. Might save that for September and October as well. So that's all of Booktopia for now. And so I was finally able to pick up a book that I really meant to read and review over a month ago, because that's when it came out. And that is Honey by Victor Lodato. Now this still has a Booktopia connection, because Victor was a Booktopia author in 2017. And that was for his book, Edgar and Lucy. Wonderful novel. One of my favorites, one of my mother's favorites. Victor was one of our favorite authors that year. Edgar and Lucy is a fabulous novel. I highly recommend you check that out. And here, I think he's done it again. I'm only about a third of the way through. This came out last month in April. I did want to get my review out by the time it came out. I explained to Victor I was running late because of Booktopia. He had sent me this arc ahead of time. We got to know each other because of Booktopia, and then he had sent me an arc that a friend of his had written, and I read that and reviewed it for Shelf Awareness, did an interview with his friend for Shelf Awareness. It was a fabulous book. I'll put the picture up here. I'm not even recalling the name right now. Memoir that was just amazing. So, we've kind of gotten to know each other. So his new book, Honey, this is a novel set in New Jersey about a woman who's in her 80s. Her name is Honey. That's the name she's always gone by. She comes from an Italian family in New Jersey. And yes, her father was a pretty big deal among the mob. and pretty powerful man. So Honey grew up surrounded by a lot of violence and a lot of things you just did not talk about in her family, like what her father did for a living. Her brother followed her father into the family business. Honey got out of there. She wanted to escape from her family, from her hometown, from all of it, from some of the horrible things she had seen. She went to college at Bryn Mawr in Philadelphia and then moved to New York City, began working in art galleries and auction houses, more art auction houses actually. And then she moved out to LA, where she lived most of her life very happily, very glamorously. She continued working in the art business. She had two wonderful best friends. And recently, when they both died, Honey decided to move back to her hometown in New Jersey and kind of reckon with the past. So she's in her 80s now, and much of the novel is about her experiences with aging as someone very glamorous who grew up in an era where, you know, women dressed up to go to the grocery store. She's a really unique and wonderful character, but she's also grappling with a lot of death. Besides her two best friends in LA, the book begins with someone close to her dying. She's been to a lot of funerals since she got back. And she's just trying to kind of, at the end of her life, make peace with her past. So loving this so far. Victor is a wonderful writer. If you haven't read any of his novels, I highly recommend you pick up Honey or Edgar and Lucy. He had at least one novel before that won an award, the Penn Award. He wrote Matilda Savage, which won the Penn USA Award for fiction. He's won fellowships from the Guggenheim Foundation and the National Endowment for the Arts. He's a wonderful writer, so please check him out. And I will report back next week on Honey as I finish this novel. I have not yet started a new audiobook since finishing Sand, which is now, look right here. Oops, we put them in the wrong order. This is the audio I just finished. Hugh Howey is one of our favorite authors. As you can see, he wrote the Silo trilogy that begins with Wool, Shift, and Dust. So I fully intended for my next audio to read Across the Sand, the sequel to Sand. And I still plan to listen to that soon. However, in the meantime, I just this morning, I always watch my booktube videos while I'm eating my breakfast, and I was watching a relatively new to me channel that I really love, Michelle Lynn Reads. I had tagged Michelle last week in the Don't You Forget About Me tag. And so I was visiting her channel when I learned about a readathon I can't believe I hadn't heard about before, because it is right up my alley. It's the Spoonie readathon. Now you may not know what a Spoonie is. It's something near and dear to my heart. It is someone dealing with some sort of chronic health condition that limits their energy. So there's this thing called the spoon theory, where you start the day with a finite number of spoons, and everything you do requires a certain number of spoons. It's how one woman explained to a friend about her limited energy and her limited ability to do things. So it's become a very common term in the chronic illness world, in the disability world. We call ourselves spoonies. So this is something that combines chronic illness and books. So that's me. That's what my channel is all about. The readathon is hosted by Novell Novels. whose channel I'd also checked out this morning, and Brews and Reviews. So I'm going to make a separate video about the Spoonie Readathon because I've got lots and lots and lots of suggestions for you of books that you could read for this readathon. Unfortunately, it's only the month of May. I wish I had learned about it sooner. But with that in mind, as I went to download Across the Sand, I realized, no, I should find something that fits for the Spoonie Readathon. So I went through a bunch of my audio backlog. It is extensive. And I just read the blurbs and found something that fits. So my next audiobook that I'm starting today is The Sky at Our Feet by Nadia Hashima. So this is a middle grade novel about a boy named Jason who was born in the US. He's an American citizen. His mother is from Afghanistan. His father is American but was serving in Afghanistan and dies. And he discovers that with his father gone, his mother is now illegal. And so he sees her, well, I guess she's escorted from work one day by the INS. Jason's left all alone. And he has an aunt in New York City, so he takes the train to Penn Station. Quite quickly realizes how overwhelming New York City is. He's pretty lost. And I guess what happens is he passes out. Next thing he knows, he's waking up. He knows he's waking up in the hospital. And there he meets a girl named Max, a really smart, lively girl, but that is dealing with a chronic health. I can't speak this morning. With a chronic health condition. So that's where this will fit into the Spoonie Readathon. It also sounds like a fabulous middle grade novel. So I will be starting that today. So that's what I'm reading and listening to this week. Please let me know in the comments below what you are reading this weekend.